how did you get the vision to be able to look ahead and see that, hey, if we went direct to consumer selling boots, e-commerce wise, disrupting this industry, where did you get the vision for that, and how did you see it in your eyes, like in the horizon, playing out and ended up becoming a success?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's easy to have hindsight vision as 2020, but at the time, direct to consumer was a buzzword. You know, there was Warby Parker had just raised their Series A when I was thinking about quitting my job. I think Casper had just launched. Allbirds, I think wasn't even really around yet. A lot of these brands that have kind of become concomitant with the idea of being D2C were just getting started. And so I thought that was that's a business model. I was wrong about that, I think, maybe to be a little contrarian here. Direct to consumer is just a channel. It's just a channel for a brand and a consumer to connect. And there are lots of ways for brands to connect with consumers. And before the internet and before e-commerce, there were direct-to-consumer brands. J.Crew is a direct-to-consumer brand. The only way to buy J.Crew products is to go to a J.Crew store. Land's End is a direct-to-consumer brand. They invented the catalog business. Catalog used to be the D2C hot take of the 70s and 80s. And so, you know, I think what took some wisdom that I maybe even didn't have at the time was to recognize that e-commerce was just another way to have a catalog, another way to have a store, another way to connect with consumers more directly. So I'd say that. One, to actually answer your question, it was obvious that people are going to keep buying stuff on the internet. And it was still kind of crazy to think there were some categories where people were still saying, oh, people aren't going to buy that on the internet. It's like, okay, they're going to eventually figure out how to buy everything on the internet. Now, how much people are going to buy on the internet versus how much they're still going to buy physically, I think that varies by category. You know, technology was the first thing to go from physical stores. Music was next. Hardware was another thing to go quick over online. Footwear became one of the early categories to go online because of Zappos and really burning the trail, blazing the trail there. So for us, it was obvious that, all right, if every other type of footwear can be bought online, why aren't cowboy boots? And you know, I did some research, and the number was absurd. I think it was like 4%, I think, of sales of cowboy boots were on the internet versus almost 20% of footwear overall. So it was very obvious that that was like an underpenetrated channel. But more than anything, it was connecting people with a brand that I was most attracted to. It was recognizing that in the modern era, people are going to department stores a little less. People are relying on one place to stop and shop for everything. People wanted to have a relationship with brand. People wanted to have brands that represented their values. They wanted to represent their style in the case of footwear and apparel. So that was, I think, a more important trend. And the idea that you could have every single one of your sales as a one-on-one connection where you know who's buying it, you can talk to them, you can learn from them, you can make them way happier than if your box is being shipped by someone else and then they got a question about the product, they didn't even know who to call. So I was really attracted to that business model.